as you have seen yesterday, that IPMS's application runs on Linux operating system. So first we will see how to load Linux OS in the computer, and then in the next session we will see what are the basic configuration that we need to do before loading the IPMS's application. So let us start with the installation of OS. So here see mini IPMS's switching application works on Linux platform only, and it is ready to work on Red Hat Linux version 7. We will be using version 7.3, and we will be using the Red Hat version of Linux. So make sure that you are loading the 7.3 version. Mini IPMS's switching server machine is configured to use internal disk for installation of operating system only. Now, you might have seen yesterday that in your computer, you will be having two disks. One will be the internal disk, and this will be the additional disk that you will be adding. So this first disk, we will be using this disk for loading the OS, and the second extra hard disk, this will be used for storing of AFTN messages. So today we will be concentrating on this first hard disk. And for loading this OS, first you will be requiring pen drive with Linux inside that. So what are the pre-installation requirements? First of all, a Red Hat Linux ISO file, then a pen drive, and finally a computer machine, which I think you have already set up yesterday. So instead of a CD, we can also use a USB drive, as I have told. And to make this any normal pen drive a bootable pen drive, what is bootable? Bootable means we can load an operating system through that pen drive. So to create a bootable pen drive, we will be using a third-party software named Power ISO. So you can easily download this from the internet, and using this software, first you have to make that pen drive bootable, and after that only you can load the Linux operating system. So let us see how to use this Power ISO software. So upon opening this Power ISO software, see everything is given in the slide. What are the instructions you have to follow? First select tools, and under tools this option will be there, create a bootable USB drive. Now after clicking on create bootable USB drive, proceed as given here, click browse and select the ISO file which you are supposed to install, and then select the destination USB drive which you want to make bootable, and then select draw write method which is recommended, and finally click on start button. So here you can see the slide. Here you have selected the ISO file, and this write method will be raw write, and this is the destination USB drive where you are loading this ISO file, and finally select start, and this pen drive will become bootable with this RHEL 7.3 Linux. So you have completed the first step. Now you have a bootable pen drive. Now we'll proceed further with the installation. Any doubts till now? So I don't think any doubts. Let's proceed further. And one more thing, uh, in any computer, there is one option called uh, boot menu. Like operating system can be there from can be loaded from the hard disk, from a pen drive, or from a CD-ROM. So in the BIOS menu in any computer, you'll be having an option that which one will be checked first for loading the operating system. So to go in the BIOS menu for Dell machines, just simply after restarting the computer, press F2. When you press F2, the BIOS menu option will come, and in that menu option, you select pen drive as the first option, the USB drive that you have loaded the Linux file with. So once you have made the pen drive as the default operating system, then only you can proceed with the installation. So make sure that you change this particular order. Now after you have done with this, after restarting, you will get this install Red Hat Linux 7. So you select the option and then proceed further. And you have to proceed accordingly. First here simply select English language, English United States, then click on continue. Now you will get another window, and in this window you are supposed to select only two options. One is software selection and another is installation destination. So we will be seeing only these two options over here. So first you have to select the particular software. So you click this software selection menu, and after this you can see on this, once you open the software selection, on the left side you will get various options. So you have to select the lowest most, that is server with GUI, graphical user interface. So once you select this server with GUI, then on the right hand side you will get various add-ons. Now this is a very long list, but we are supposed to select only these particular 8 options that is given in this particular slide. Now this is very important. Make sure that you select only these particular 8 files, neither extra nor less, because once you proceed with this installation, you might be facing some problems in the future if a few files are missing from here, few options are missing. To make sure that you have selected these options carefully, and after selecting this, at the top corner you will be getting this done option. Click on that and then we can proceed further. So we have seen this software selection. Now next we'll be coming to this installation destination, that is in which hard disk we will be installing this operating system. So we have already seen that this first hard disk will be used for loading the OS, Linux OS. So under this installation destination option, see in this diagram you can see there is one SDA written, and you have this second hard disk that is SDB. So whichever is your internal hard disk where you are supposed to load this OS, first check what is the name of that hard disk, and after that you select that particular, suppose you are loading in this SDA drive, then select SD over here and click on automatically configure, sorry, not this one, you select I will configure partitioning. First select that particular disk and then select I will configure partitioning and then click on done. Now after you select I will configure partitioning, you will get another window, and at the bottom most part, see here in this slide you can see total space is around 1 terabyte, and here actually it is written free space is something around 700 GB. Now sometimes what happens that at the first instance you will be seeing 0 MB free. So in that case, actually it is not visible in this diagram, but below this LVM there will be one option called unknown partitions. So first, if it is there, if the space is not available, then click on this unknown partitions and then click select delete partition. So whatever partition was there from before, it will be deleted and all the space, all the memory will be available for configuration. Now once you have all the free space, then select click here to create them automatically. Now what happens when you select this? See, what we are trying to do here is we are trying to add various mount points. You might be knowing in Linux there are several mount points, like this is for root directory and several others like this one is for home directory. So few are already loaded by default. So once you select click here to create them automatically, few options will be generated by system itself. You can see in the diagram boot, boot/EFI, this is the root directory and this is the swap mount point. So you need not edit these mount points that are created automatically. But few other mount points are there which you have to manually add. So here the list is given. This first one is OPT, temporary, VAR, USR, and this home. So overall, 5 things you need to add, and rest of the mount points will be created automatically. So these are the 5 mount points that you need to manually add. So how to do that? At the bottommost corner, you will be getting an option add a new mount point. After selecting this, here you can write the name of the particular mount point. For example, here we are selecting /opt, and then you have to give the desired capacity of that mount point. In the next slide, we'll be seeing what is the size of this mount point. And then after selecting the size and the name, then select add mount point. So in this manner, you have to manually add the 5 extra mount points that was given in the previous slide. Now talking about the capacity of that mount point, see here, this is just a reference example. For a 4 GB RAM system, this is a standard size option that you can incorporate. Like here you can see 1 terabyte of memory. Here few points were automatically created by system, like this one, swap memory, boot/EFI, and rest you have to add manually. So here you can see around 10 GB of memory is given for each of these mount points. And finally, whatever memory you are having, you can add it to home. So for example, you have added 100 GB of size for home directory. So in this manner, you have to select the size of the various mount points. And one more thing, what is this swap memory? Uh, like this is one extra memory space available in the hard disk. Sometimes what happens, the RAM gets full, so we can use this extra space which is in the form of swap memory as a RAM, so it makes your system faster. So this will be generated automatically by the system, you need not worry. But still, this is a reference chart, like whatever RAM size you're having, according to that, what is the recommended swap space that should be done. So for example, suppose you have a 4 GB RAM Then the recommended swap space is 4 GB itself. So any questions till now regarding the mount points and the software selection?
Sir, we are trying to install Linux at Goa station in
Yes, sir.
AMSS1.
Mm-hmm.
So there is already Windows 10 preloaded in
Mm-hmm.
C drive.
Yes, sir.
And when we were trying these steps, so it was showing available space only 12 MIB.
Yes, sir. First you have to format that and then only you can proceed with installation.
Okay, so Windows we don't require, so we'll completely format, then only we'll start no fresh installation.
First completely format and then only proceed with Linux installation.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, sir. So now we have seen how to create mount points and the software selection. Now after this we have seen software selection and destination. After this we will select begin installation. Now once you begin installation, there will be two options that you need to enter. First is the root password and second is the user creation. So select this root password and enter root root. So this is the default password that we are using for our system. And under user creation, you write the name of the user, suppose AMSS, and then write the password root root, and then select done over here. So you have selected root password and you have also created a user. Next, after doing this, see at the bottom side you will be seeing a bar, progress bar regarding the installation, and after it is completed you select reboot option. Now once you reboot you will be getting this screen. Here you'll be having that user AMSS, but you don't have to log in using this user, but you have to select not listed, and under this not listed you will be getting the option of entering the password. Then select root over there, write root, and then you can proceed. So make sure that you are not selecting this AMS's user, but you are selecting this not listed option. So with this, the first part, that is the installation of Linux operating system, is done. So if you have any doubts, you can ask now regarding this loading of Linux.
There is some continuous noise. It is very disturbing while PPT.
Yes, actually. Okay, so we'll try to.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, okay.
Sir, could you please repeat the last two steps from creating root password and
Okay, sir.
creating
Okay,
user?
sir. So after you select begin installation, then you will be having two options: root password and user creation. And under this root password, you simply have to enter a password. So for our system, we are using simply root. We are just writing root over here, nothing else. And under user creation, you have to create a user under AMSS. Just like in Windows, we have one administrator user and one another guest user. Similarly, here we are creating a user. So under this user, we are creating a user named AMSS, and the password we are giving is root. But we don't have to log in using this AMSS user. but we'll be logging using this root password, this option, and this is available in this not listed option. So you don't have to log in using the user that we have created. Just make sure that this thing.
The root username, password, and AMSS all should be in lowercase.
Yes, sir, in lowercase.
Okay.
So this was just about the installation, and in another 2 minutes we will proceed with the second part, that is what is the basic configuration that we are supposed to do in this Linux OS before installing the IPMSS application files. So just take a short 2-minute break and then we'll resume. So let us start the second part. So now you are ready with the Linux operating system. Now you are supposed to do some basic configuration. So after completion of installation of OS, few configurations and installations are required before installation of mini IPMSS packages. So we will be seeing what are the various configurations that need to be done, and please follow this carefully because while installation, this is the part where we tend to do small errors and it results in problems afterwards. So again we have to restart with this process throughout. So please observe carefully. So the total task is divided into 4 parts. First is Linux configuration. Then we have something called creation of Linux repo and installation of additional packages. Then we'll be installing this DRBD software. And finally, after doing all these basic stuff, we'll be installing mini IPMSS application packages. So I will be discussing only this first part, that is Linux configuration, and the rest of the parts will be taken by Sudhakar sir in the later session in today's later half. So let us begin with Linux configuration. So there are a couple of things that we need to do. First, the first step is changing the host name of your computer. Now, just similar to the Windows operating system where you have a computer name, similarly here you have to enter the computer name. And see, in Linux, as you might be knowing, everything is stored in the form of files and directories. So every file and folder is there at a particular location. So this particular file, that is host name. Now where is it situated? What is the location of this file? See, under this root directory, we are having this etc folder, etc directory, and under etc directory we are having this file host name. So first of all, we have to fetch this file and then we have to edit this file. So normally in Linux, there are two commands for editing. First is gedit and second is vi. So mostly we'll be using this vi editor to edit any file. So just enter the command vi, and after command a space is required. This is general for any command, and after that just write the path of the file. So here we are trying to edit host name, so we will be writing /etc/host name. Now after writing this command, a window will appear. It's a blank window. Something like this will be written. You have to remove this and you have to write AMSS1. So this becomes the name of the computer. So suppose you are doing on AMSS2 second machine, then just write AMSS2 over there. Now I will not be discussing here how to operate this vi command. You can please search it on the internet. And next, after adding the host name, the second task that we are required to do is changing the date and time of the system. So here you can see a couple of commands. Using this first command, you can see what is the existing date time setting in a computer. So you will be getting a window like this, time date control, and whatever time is there in your computer by default. So suppose instead of UTC, you are having something IST or something. Now what you are required is you want to make it UTC time. So first select next command, time date control space set dash time zone space UTC. So what happens when you run this command? Everything will be displayed as UTC time over here. Okay. And see, you can also see other options like NTP enabled, yes, which we are supposed to make it as no. So for this, you will be writing uh, time date CTL, after that a space, and after that you will be writing this third command, that is set dash NTP no. So with this no option, that will be disabled. So here after writing time date control set NTP false, you can either write false or no. After writing this yes changes into a no option. So you have selected NTP as no, you have changed the time to UTC. Now there is another option, set local RTC no. So here you can see uh, here already it is written as no, but if suppose it is written as yes, then write this command time date control, then a space, and after that write set local RTC no. And finally, after we have done all these settings like changing UTC, changing this NTP enabled. After that, we have to edit what is the current time of the system. So suppose here some false time is being displayed, and you have to edit that time and make it current time. So for that, this last command will be used, time date control space set time, and after that, in double inverted commas, write the current date and time in this format and select enter. So these are a set of commands, 4-5 commands that you need to do. You need to write to change the date and time of the system. Now after changing the date and time, the third feature is disable SE Linux. Now SE Linux is nothing but security enhanced Linux. Now what is the problem with this security enhanced Linux? That just like we have firewall option, similarly with this option, maybe the communication with our workstations might be hampered. It might block some packets. So because of that, we just disable this option, both firewall and SE Linux. So first of all, you will write this command get enforce, and you will be seeing the option either as enabled or as disabled. So here you can see when you enter this command, here it will be displayed as SC Linux equal to, suppose it is enabled. Then how to disable it? You go to this particular file, this config file, and you have to edit this file. So for editing, suppose you are using vi space etc slash sc linux slash config file. Once you enter this file, you just simply write this line set sc linux equal to disabled. And after saving this, again when you run this get enforce, you will see this being changed into disabled option. So we need to disable both SC Linux and firewall. So we have seen how to disable SC Linux. Now next we'll proceed to disabling the firewall. So just like in the previous command, we had seen the status of SC Linux. So first we will see the status of firewall. For this, write this command syscontrol system control space status space firewall D. After writing this command, this might hamper the server with the workstations. So that is why we disable this firewall. So how to disable it? So this first command was there to see the status, and we will write the second command system control space stop space firewall D, and then next we'll write syscontrol space disable space firewall D. So after executing these commands, again when you run the first command, you will be seeing the option as inactive. Earlier you had seen this as active running, and after executing this command disable and stop, the display changes to inactive dead. So make sure that you disable firewall and both SE Linux and firewall. So till now we have seen the name of the computer, the date and time of the system, and we have seen how to disable SE Linux and firewall. So after doing these 4 basic settings, next we come to the network configuration. Now this is very important, and this is the place that most of us tend to make mistakes. Like in our installation at Kolkata itself, we had faced several issues in this network configuration. So first, when you enter this command ifconfig, you will be seeing what are the default name of the Ethernet ports and the default IP is given. So now suppose you are having 3 LAN ports in a Dell computer. After entering ifconfig, you will be seeing the device name over here. For example, here it is being displayed as ENP3S0. This might be something different in your Dell computer, and this name will be given to all the different ports that are there in your system. So first, in our IPMSS application, we have defined the Ethernet ports as ETH0, ETH1 and ETH2. So the first port we will be writing as ETH0, second one as ETH1 and third one as ETH2. But here we can see the name is different. So first we have to change the name of this Ethernet port to ETH0, ETH1 and ETH2. So how to change this? Now just like in Windows, here also you have this GUI option. Now various steps are given over here. I am showing this through the diagram. So when you enter the home screen of your computer, select this menu at the top right corner and you will be getting this symbol of setting. Now once you click on setting, this window will appear where you can see various options, like so many options are there, and from these many options you have to select this network option. After selecting this network option, this will be the next window that will be appearing. Here you can see various names will be given by default. The default Ethernet ports that was given in the previous slide. So first you have to select this setting sign, and after this go to the setting button. After this select reset. There will be two options, both reset and forget. First select reset, then select forget, and then select apply settings. Now after that, uh, see here various names will be given by default. Suppose it is given ENPS301 in the previous slide. Now select this. Upon selecting this, here you can see various options like security, identity, IPv4 and IPv6. Now when you select this identity, some other name will be given by default. So here change this name and select, for example, here they have selected ETH1, and corresponding to that, select whatever MAC address is given in this drop down option. So here what you are doing, you are changing the name from the default name to whatever name which is supposed to be given for your IPMSS application, that is ETH0, ETH1 and ETH2. And after that select add option. So using this graphical user interface, you simply have to change the name of the Ethernet port, but for changing the IP address for that port, you have to proceed using command option. So how to do that? You have to see, after completion of network device name, one config file is generated. The name of that config file is ifcfg dash ethernet 0. So suppose you had changed the name of the port as ETH0, then correspondingly this file will be generated. So you have to edit this file. So for that, write this command and one window will appear. The image of that window is not given here. So in that window, various 14, 15 rows will be there. Out of that, only these 8 rows are required, and remove all the other rows. Suppose some IPv6 might be written, 4, 5 rows will be written. Simply remove all those rows. And 2 more rows are there which you need to add. That is UUID, and one more is hardware address, something like this. So don't remove these 2 lines. These are very important. And add these 8 lines. Few will be given already and few you need to add out of these. So just make sure that in that file, hardware address is present, UUID is present, and these options, 8 options are present. Now after you have modified, you have done these changes in this configuration file, you need to do this for, suppose you have 3 ports, then repeat the same step for all the 3 ports. Now after doing this, see this, simply if you again write if config and check the name, then the name of the Ethernet ports will not be displayed. So first what we have to do is, there is this graph file. Now what happens using this graph file, that whenever you restart the computer, suppose you have not done anything in this graph file, then whatever changes you had made using GUI option, it will be again reset to the default option. So whatever changes you had made, again it will be removed. So how to make that changes permanent? So to make that permanent, you need to edit this graph file. So go to this particular path, that is etc default grub. When you edit this particular file name, this particular window will be displayed, and here you can see this last 2 words, RHGB quiet. Just before these 2 words, simply add this particular line, net.ifnames equal to 0 space BIOS dev name equal to 0. Simply insert this particular line before these 2 words, RHGB quiet, and save this file. After that, after changing that particular file, you have to run this second command, grub2 dash make config space, this is not 0, this is O, space minus O, again space, and then the path of that file, boot slash grub2 slash grub.cfg. Now once you have made changes in the graph file, then you have to again stop the network and start the network. So simply write these 2 commands, service network stop, service network start. And still, if you select ifconfig, then the changes will not be visible. So now what you have to do, you have to restart the system. And only after rebooting the system, when you select ifconfig command, then the proper changes that you had made will be visible. ETH0, the corresponding IP address, and then rest of the names, ETH1 and ETH2. So you have to follow all these steps in order so that the name of those Ethernet ports and the IP addresses are changed. So is there any doubt in this particular network configuration or something that I need to repeat?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
Sir, you are told to change the name through by using settings.
Hmm.
So how will means, give IP address? How will assign IP by ifconfig command?
Yes, sir. Using GUI option, you just have to change the name. But to change the IP, you need to write these commands. Like after you change the name, this particular file will be generated. ifconfig -eth0. You have to go to this particular path and edit that particular file. Now after that, various things will be written in that file. Out of that, remove whatever things are unnecessary. Like suppose something will be written as IPv6 and some other extra stuff will be given. Just simply remove those lines and just keep these 8 lines and 2 additional lines, hardware address and UUID. Rest of the lines you can simply remove. And here only you are adding the particular port, the subnet mask that you are supposed to give, then the network, and here it is the broadcast ID. And the name you had already changed in GUI, but here also you have to write as ETH0 and device as ETH0. Only after doing these changes, the IP address will be changed. Is it okay, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Any other questions? Okay, then make sure you follow these steps very carefully, because sometimes what happens, the IP addresses changes, but the changed name is not reflected in if config. So there might be in some place you are making some mistakes. So you follow the steps properly in the particular order. So this was the most important part, that is network configuration. Now after changing the network configuration, there are few other things that need to be done. This option is TCP keep alive. Now what is the use of keep alive? It simply checks the health of the line, that whether the line is up or not, and it informs the system accordingly. So here what you are doing, you are using this command, you are checking the status of this keep alive. So sys control space -a, and then this bar, and then this grep keep alive. So once you run this command, you will see, after running this command, this option will be visible. So here few values are given, but what values you are supposed to enter, it is given here. Add the following 36 and 5. So suppose some different values are given, so you simply need to modify that file. So you write this command vi and then write the path of that file, etc/syscontrol.config, and simply add these 3 lines in that file and then save the file. And to apply the setting, finally write this command syscontrol space -p. Now how to insert using vi command and how to save the file, these things you can check it on the internet. Here I will not be discussing that, but simply you have to edit this file, add these values, and apply the settings. Now after doing this, see here in this diagram, they had written this command vi etc syscontrol. This window will appear, and simply add these 3 lines over here and then save this particular file. After this, next we have host file. Now you all might be knowing the use of host file. Here we map particular IPs with the name of the device. So here simply you have to write, suppose Amss's one server has been given this particular IP. your whatever workstation, suppose booking workstation. So you write the corresponding IP of that workstation over here. Right, for the format is IP, then space, then the name of the terminal. And these first two lines will be there by default. Do not remove these first two lines. So after editing host file, now this is the last part that is left, partitioning for AFTN message storage area. Now till now whatever I had discussed, it was regarding the first disk. First disk was used for operating system. The second disk was used for AFTN message. So suppose this is a 1 terabyte disk, 1 TB disk. Now out of this, you have to create a partition to store the AFTN messages. So for mini IPMSs, we will be creating a partition of size 50 GB. So first of all, you have to check the name of your hard disk. Generally, it will be given as /device/SDB. The first hard disk will be written as SDA, and the second hard disk is normally SDB. Now, how to create partition? First of all, select this, write this command, fdisk / then the particular hard disk that you are selecting. For our case, it is SDB. Here it will be SDB. Now, once you enter this command, you will get various options. Out of that, select this option M. And again, various options will be given. You have to add a partition over here. So select small n for adding a partition. And proceed further as prompted. Like for selecting primary, you have to select, you are creating the first partition, so you have to select 1, and after that you have to enter the size of the partition. So suppose it is a 1 TB hard disk, so you just have to create a 50 GB partition for storing AFTN messages. So here it will prompt you to enter the value. So write over here 50 GB, and after selecting 50 GB, finally select W to write this particular size. So using this, what you have done, out of 1 terabyte, you have created a 50 GB space for storing AFTN messages. And after you have done this, you have to select this command, write this command, part probe. What happens that using this command, it informs the operating system that whatever changes you have made. And finally, when you enter this command lsblk, you will be seeing the names and the size of all the disk and partitions that you have created in your computer. So when you enter this command, you'll be seeing SDA, SDB, and all other the size and the name of the disk. So here under SDB, you have created a partition. So the name of that partition will be SDB1. So this is the 50 GB partition that you have created. And the same process, whatever I have told till now, the same thing needs to be repeated for both AMSS1 and AMSS2. And after doing all these basic configurations, you still have a few things that need to be installed. Few extra packages are required for Linux, so that the IPMSS applications can be loaded later. So in the first part till now, I have discussed how to install the Linux operating system and what are the basic Linux OS configuration that needs to be done. This I'll be sharing the Linux installation video WhatsApp group. So you all in that video whatever things you had missed out. And in the second part, we will be discussing what are the additional packages that needs to be installed, and after that, how to install the mini IPMSS packages. So in this first part of configuration, is there any doubt till now?
So what is the
So can
value in the last slide?
Yeah, in the previous slide, the system already set
Select first sector value.
some default value will value. Press enter, and after that, this last sector value, this you have to enter. That is 50 GB or 100 GB, whatever you are supposed to do. So for Goa, 50 GB. So this will be default by the
So
system.
we need to create, sir.
आप ज्यादा एक से ज्यादा करके रख लें. You can create, that is minimum one is required. That is SDB1. You can also
Okay.
create extra. Any other
So can you
question?
explain that file concept?
Graph file.
So that
Yeah, wait a second. Name of the Ethernet ports and the IP addresses. Whenever you will restart the computer, again those changes will be returned to the default permanent. You have to. So first of all, go to this path, write this command, and then this particular file will open. Now here you can see in the second last line, this quiet is written. Just before this word, add this line, net if names equal to 0, BIOS device name equal to 0. Using this, what happens after you save this particular line, every time when you reboot the system does not return to those default values which was already there. So whatever changes you had made, it becomes permanent. So that is why we are editing this particular graph file. And after that, you also need to run this particular command, grub2 make config space -0 and then the path of the particular file. And then only the changes you have. Is it clear, sir?
it is required during configuration time.
No, only first time it is required.
After that,
After
no,
that,
it is not required. Fine.
so is there anything else to ask? So then that's all for this first session. We'll meet again after 15 minutes at 10:20 UTC. Okay, thank you.